3 bone-chilling true intrusions that haunted families forever. You won't believe what happens. The air was thick with tension, electrified by the unforgettable tales of 3 families who faced the unthinkable. Each night, they settled into their homes, blissfully unaware that a sinister force lurked just beyond their doors. As shadows lengthened, an eerie stillness fell over their windows, and with it, a creeping dread that would forever alter their lives. Their experiences blurred the lines between reality and nightmare, leaving them haunted by echoes that would chill even the bravest souls. First up was the Halogen family, whose unsettling story began with a simple, everyday sound: the creaking of their old wooden floors. But these were not the ordinary sounds of a house settling. There was a pattern to it, a rhythmic thump that resonated like a heartbeat, emanating from the walls themselves. Each night, it grew more pronounced, and each morning brought fresh drawings on their children's bedroom walls. No crayons or markers in sight. Just a chilling assortment of faces, with wide, haunting eyes and crooked mouths that seemed to whisper secrets. Mrs. Halogen described her children's terror that night. Their wide eyes reflected the flickering light, as they gasped in unison, "It's watching us." As news spread, whispers turned into fervor. Neighbors peeked through their curtains, sharing tales of flickering lights and unexplained chills that joined the Halogen's story like tendrils of smoke. Then, the Smiths, 2 blocks over, discovered something much more sinister. One quiet Thursday, they found the back door ajar, even though they delocked it securely the night before. The fridge was emptied, but nothing was stolen. Only a note was left: "I'm closer than you think." It was scrawled in a frenzied hand, sending a shiver of dread down the spine of every adult who laid eyes on it. The line between safety and vulnerability shattered in that instant, a stark reminder that the monsters lurking in their midst were as cold as the creeping night. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the final tale involves the Andersons, who were drawn into a web of terror when they moved into a seemingly perfect house, only to uncover hidden secrets sealed in its very foundation. They awoke every night to the sound of agonized whispers, too faint to comprehend yet too clear to ignore. When they finally decided to investigate the attic, the very air around them grew heavy, suffocating. Amidst the dust and cobwebs, one of them stumbled upon a diary, pages yellowing with age but vibrant with fear. Scribbles detailed the terrifying moments of a previous tenant, a warning lost in time that begged to be heeded. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the final echoes of the past mingled with their present, an undeniable question hung in the air: what truly awaited them in the silent darkness of their homes? Were these encounters mere coincidence, or were they linked by something far more sinister? The answer lingered just beyond their reach. The sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting long shadows that danced along the street. The atmosphere felt thick, almost liquid with anticipation. The Halogen, Smith, and Anderson families, each shadowed by their own terror, had unknowingly stepped into a dark narrative that connected them all. But just as they braced themselves for the night, something even more menacing surfaced. Within the Halogen household, David, the youngest son, lay wide awake, trembling under the weight of a gnawing fear that threatened to consume him. He glanced towards his door. The rhythmic thumping had become painfully familiar, yet now it felt more pronounced, as if it was calling for him. He pushed his blanket aside and tiptoed across the cold hardwood floor. A soft glow illuminated the hallway from the kitchen, drawing him closer. As he crept towards the light, he could hear a faint whisper, almost melodic, swirling through the air. It beckoned him. "David, come play with me." His heart raced, the hairs on his neck prickling. An unseen presence seemed to wrap around him, urging him to step closer. At the same moment, across town, at the Smith residence, the tension escalated. Maria and Tom stood frozen in the living room, their eyes fixed on the back door now swinging gently on its hinges. The ominous note haunted them still. "I'm closer than you think." The words throbbed like a pulse, forever darkening their thoughts. Maria felt a heat rise in her chest. "What if it's someone we know?" she gasped, gripping Tom's arm tightly. He shook his head, his face pale with fear. "We can't think like that. We need to stay safe." But despite his reassurances, dread pooled in their stomachs. Meanwhile, the Andersons summoned courage and decided to delve deeper into their new home's haunting past. They gathered around the flickering light of a single lamp in the attic, the air fraught with apprehension. Claire, the eldest, held the ancient diary, its pages crinkling under her touch. "This can't be the only thing," she murmured, the darkness pressing against them like an impenetrable wall. As she read aloud, revealing tales of despair and misfortune from generations past, a sudden chill swept through the attic. The whispers intensified, swirling around them in a cacophony that drowned out her voice. "We shouldn't be here," Jake yelled, his eyes wide with terror. Just then, something struck the floor with a heavy thud. They all turned, paralyzed. A figure cloaked in darkness stood at the threshold of the attic door, but before they could react, it vanished, leaving only a lingering echo that shattered their sense of safety. Across the neighborhood, the winds picked up, howling through the trees, wrapping secrets around the homes like a tightening noose. The families were no longer just haunted, they were being hunted. As the clock struck midnight, flickering lights dimmed and shadows coalesced into a singular presence, pooling in front of each family. Now, silence reigned, suffocating the very air they breathed. The dread hung like a curtain, thick and suffocating. What had been dormant was now awakened. A dark revelation loomed on the horizon, promising to intertwine their fates in a way they never imagined. With every breath, the chilling sensation of being watched settled deeper into their bones. As they each lay gripped by fear, a startling realization struck: they were not alone. The lurking nightmare was beginning to take form, and it was preparing to reveal its true face. But what if the terror they felt was merely a reflection of their own buried fears? Would they muster the courage to confront it, or would they become prisoners to their own nightmares? David stepped into the glow of the kitchen, heart pounding so loud he thought it might burst. The whispers wrapped around him tighter, beckoning him to come closer, to let go of the fear that clutched him in its icy grip. "David, come play with me." The voice was sweet but sent chills skittering down his spine like ice cubes tumbling to the floor. He hesitated, clutching the doorframe. The light flickered, shadows darting about the room like trapped insects. He could see the kitchen table, cluttered with dinner remnants, and his favorite toy, a small race car. But something was off. The air had a sharpness to it, like a storm about to break. In another home, Maria felt the tension in her throat tighten. "Tom," she whispered, recalling the words etched in her memory, "I'm closer than you think." She felt as if they were at the center of some dark web, threads tightening imperceptibly around them. Stepping cautiously toward the door, she peered out into the yard. Only darkness stared back. "Nothing out there, love. Let us just calm down." Tom's voice trembled, his usual assurance wavering. He grasped her shoulder, but even he could feel the oppressive dread that hung thick around them. As night pressed on, the Andersons huddled closer in the attic, still reeling from the figure's sudden appearance. Claire's breath quickened, her mind racing. It must be connected to the diary. She looked down at the crumpled pages, searching desperately for answers among the sordid tales of loss and sorrow. Jake stood beside her, his wide eyes reflecting their shared terror. "Or it's just a stupid prank. You're making this worse," he snapped, a hint of panic turning his voice jagged, as if it could shatter the silence that smothered them. But even as he spoke, deep down, he fought against the icy fingers of doubt gripping his heart. "I don't think it's a prank," Clara murmured, feeling an ominous weight lift the very air she breathed. And that was when they heard a soft thud, then another, descending from the attic stairs. Each sound felt like a hammer, pounding against their sanity. Back in the halogen home, David's small frame trembled as he crossed the threshold. The whispers called louder, now almost a chorus. "David, come play." Suddenly the kitchen door slammed shut behind him. He spun around, drawn back toward the sounds. No longer safe, the world outside felt as though it were fading. Shadows elongated, curling about his legs, pulling him further in. "Who's there?" His voice came out a strangled whisper. The answer was a chilling silence, punctuated by a mounting echo of a child's laughter, sweet and sinister. David's heart thundered as he backed away, nearly colliding with the table. The toys almost seemed to move, shifting like living things. Outside, the wind howled like a banshee, and the darkness thickened, as if the night itself sought to consume them all. Each family, now trapped in a sinister loop, felt a compulsion to reconnect. Entwined in a growing maelstrom pulsing with terror, they were unraveling, each thread of connection revealing deeper secrets, laying bare their most intimate fears. The looming darkness was just hunting them, it was feeding on their dread, making them weak, and then, just as understanding dawned on them, a single voice broke through the cacophony. "Help me!" Each family member froze, the icy tendrils of fear clawing deeper into their hearts. They were being called, but by who? And could they resist the pull? What awaited them when they finally answered the call? David's pulse raced as the child's laughter morphed into gleeful shrieks, echoing off the walls. The shadows danced closer, the tingling sensation creeping up his legs. It felt like they were alive, sentient, and watching. "David, come play." The voice cooed again, more insistent, almost seductive. He turned, wanting to bolt from the room, but his small legs felt like they were glued to the floor. A firefly flicker of courage sparked through, and he whispered, "Leave me alone." The words barely escaped his lips, swallowed by the cacophony of laughter echoing back at him. In that moment, the room shifted. The table elongated, the walls twisted in upon themselves, and the air thickened, saturating with an oppressive warmth that made it hard to breathe. Panic clawed at his throat, but all he could do was stand there, mouth agape, as the race car glided across the floor as if pushed by an invisible hand. Meanwhile, in the Anderson home, the attic floor creaked under the weight of an unseen presence. Claire's heart raced as she gripped the edge of the diary, its pages whispering secrets long buried. "We have to get out of here," she urged, voice breaking. Jake, still close to the attic door, turned toward the noise on the stairs. The soft thuds grew louder, more deliberate, like footsteps closing in. "Don't you hear that?" He pressed, eyes wide with the realization that something or someone was approaching. Then, all at once, a shadow appeared at the top of the steps, distinct in the dim light filtering through the window. It was small and childlike, an outline flickering in and out of view, as though masquerading between reality and nightmare. "Help me!" It called again, voice echoing Claire's own feelings of dread, making her question whether she should reach out or run. Inside the halogen home, Maria gripped Tom's arm tightly. "It's coming from David," she murmured, panic-stricken. The air felt charged, and the house vibrated with unseen energy. "We have to find him. Now." Tom hesitated, his own fear reflected in her eyes. But what if it's a trap? He wasn't sure if heading toward the darkness would lead them to safety or into something far worse. But Maria's resolve hardened. "What choice do we have?" As she pulled him toward the door, the wind outside whipped against the walls, howling like a wild beast. With each step they took, the pull became stronger, an invisible thread weaving between them and the heart of their terror. As David stood frozen, the laughter crescendoed, surrounding him in a joyous celebration reminiscent of a birthday party gone wrong. "Come play. It's so much fun." He finally mustered enough strength and shouted, "I don't want to play." His voice broke through the laughter, causing the sound to falter for just a moment. The shadows paused, flickering like a flame caught in the wind, and then it stopped. Silence fell like a heavy blanket, suffocating in its weight. Outside, Maria and Tom reached the yard, the shadows swirling around them like a storm. "David!" She screamed, but only the wind answered back, carrying with it the echo of a child's laughter. Suddenly, a scream reverberated through the night, a sound so raw, so piercing, it froze their blood. It was David's. What had he discovered in that echoing void? What realities lurked behind the playful cry? And more terrifyingly, could they reach him in time before the darkness claimed him forever? David's heart pounded in his chest as he stood on the precipice of terror, shadows swirling like a tempest around him. The silence that followed his scream echoed in his ears, thick and heavy, as if the world itself held its breath in frantic anticipation. He could feel the darkness pulling him in deeper, tugging at his very essence, and then, the laughter returned. It was softer now, almost sweet, like honey dripping from the sky. "You don't want to play?" a voice whispered, dripping with mockery. "But it's so lonely here without you." David felt a shiver race down his spine. Something cold wrapped around his ankle, slithering up his leg like a serpent, wanting to consume him whole. "No," he thought, fighting the rising tide of hopelessness. "I want to let it take me." Summoning every ounce of will, he gritted his teeth and took a shaky step backward, only to catch a glimpse of the bright red racecar, a tiny beacon among the encroaching shadows. With a surge of unexpected courage, he reached for it. Meanwhile, Claire's fingers trembled, gripping the weather diary as the soft steps approached from the attic stairs. Jake stood beside her, every muscle tense and ready to flee. "We shouldn't wait," he urged. But Claire's eyes were locked onto the shadow above. It was moving closer, revealing a fragile outline. "I can almost see it," she murmured, stepping tentatively into the doorway. What if it's David?" The creature at the top of the stairs shifted, deepening the darkness and throwing its silhouette into sharp relief. "Help me," it whimpered again, and something deep within Claire twisted. She felt the truth, raw and painful, thrum through her veins. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut, rattling the frame. "Get away!" Claire shrieked, adrenaline surging. The scent of damp wood and forgotten memories filled her nostrils as she spun back to Jake. Their eyes locked. A silent agreement crackled between them, igniting a desperate resolve. Tom and Maria burst through the front door of the halogen home, breathless with urgency. The house felt wrong, the air thick with powerful dread. Each creak of the floorboards beneath them was a reminder that they were not alone, that something dark lingered just out of sight. "David!" Maria called, a mantra of fear and hope intertwined. But the house only answered with a haunting silence, as if it were playing a cruel game of hide and seek. The laughter echoed faintly in the distance, but now it seemed distorted, like a broken record stuck on replay. "You feel that?" Tom whispered, a tremor in his voice. The very foundation felt unstable, vibrating with hidden energy. "Yeah," Maria said, clutching his hand tightly. "It's like the walls are alive." Just then, from deeper inside the house, came another scream, more desperate, more filled with fear than before. "It's him!" Maria gasped. "We have to follow it." Outside the house, the wind howled violently, swirling debris around them as if nature itself knew of the evil brewing within. Tom glanced at Maria, fear etched on his face. "We're running out of time," he urged. "We have to move now." Together, they plunged into the shadowy threshold. Each step felt like a choice, a gamble against the darkness. And as they entered the heart of the house, David's fragile voice reached out, calling them back, a desperate plea woven tightly with sorrow and longing. But before they could fully grasp what awaited them, the shadows lunged forward, manifesting into writhing forms that clawed at their feet, pulling them under. Could they fight through the darkness to find David, even if it meant facing the very nightmares they feared most? And what sinister truth would unfold if they chose to delve deeper into these haunted corridors? The darkness shimmered with a twisted kind of life, a sentient void that clawed at Tom and Maria. As shadows feathered around them, it churned like a hungry beast waiting to drown them in despair. Panic ignited in Tom's chest. "We can't lose him!" he shouted, the conviction echoing off the walls. Maria fought against the shadows, her heart racing. "David!" she called, voice cracking, straining against the suffocating grip of the blackness. With every heartbeat, the house seemed to pulse, its spirit alive and mocking. It felt as if they were intruders, trespassers in its domain. "Stick together!" Jake shouted, struggling to keep his footing beside Claire, who clutched the diary tightly to her chest. "We have to push forward." Claire nodded, but her eyes were wide with fear, a piercing reality. It was not just shadows, it was something older, something that had been waiting for them. Clenching her jaw, she plunged ahead, the diary feeling heavy against her heart. She turned back to Jake, whispering fiercely, "We need to find David and get out. I can't do this without him." As they moved deeper into the house, every creaky floorboard echoed in protest, the light from the small windows dimming as if the very air conspired against them. The laughter was no longer distant, it seemed to swirl around them, close and intimate, taunting, enveloping them in a cocoon of dread. "Help me," a voice echoed once more, this time unmistakably David's, desperate and trembling. "Did you hear that?" Maria gasped. Tom nodded, his grip tightening reflexively on her hand. "It's coming from down the hall." They raced toward the sound, hearts hammering, fighting the instinct to turn back. The hall felt long and impossibly endless, the walls almost closing in on them, shadows growing thicker. A glimpse of red, the race car, flashed in Tom's memory, the thought igniting a flicker of hope deep within. He could redirect their course. "Over here!" he cried, motioning toward an open doorway at the end, the outline glowing just faintly, a weak promise of light amidst a tempest of chaos. But just as he did, the shadows lunged, forming hands that clawed and grasped at their limbs, pulling at their clothes, intent on dragging them back. "Fight it!" Jake shouted, as he pulled Claire closer, his strength helping her through. But she whispered to him, what if it's too late for him?" "Don't say that." He brushed the doubts aside, but they clawed at her just as strongly, with fierce determination. Maria tore through a wave of shadows, pulling Tom along, breath quickening as they closed the gap. The laughter morphed into a bone-chilling shriek, echoing through the corridors, drowning out their thoughts. In the oppressive dark, David's voice reached them again, shifting the air around them. "Help me. Please." The plea felt physical, an agonizing echo that struck Claire like a punch to the gut. "He's getting weaker," she cried, an urgency surging inside her as the shadows receded just a bit, letting hope flicker and flame anew. Yet as they dashed toward the glowing doorway, the walls shuddered, the shadows congealing into a solid mass. The darkness coalesced into a hulking figure that blocked their path, its eyes gleaming like embers in a pitch-black night. "You should not have come here," it intoned, voice rasping like ancient nails on a chalkboard. They froze, hearts racing, fear blossoming wildly in their chests. It was no longer a game, this was a battle for their lives. What was the price of finding David? And could they even face the entity that stood before them? As they assessed the looming figure and the unfolding horror, they realized they were on the edge of something far darker than they could have ever imagined. The hulking figure loomed, blacker than the shadows surrounding it. Its presence seemed to suck the very air from their lungs. Every part of Tom screamed to run, but he and his friends were trapped, pushed back by a dark reminder of their own mortality. "What do we do?" Jake whispered, his voice barely above a tremor. "Stay strong," Tom replied, only half believing his own words. They were no match for whatever had claimed this house as its own. Just as despair hovered on the brink of engulfing them, the figure shifted, reaching out with skeletal fingers that gleamed ominously, as if the darkness itself twisted into claws. "Your intrusiveness has consequences," it rasped, its voice cutting through the silence like a jagged shard of glass. "He is mine now. You do not belong here. Get away from him." Maria yelled, her fury igniting a spark of energy that propelled her forward, hands stretching toward the figure as if to shield David from its grasping reach. In that moment, she recalled their last playful sunset stroll, and a fierce resolve ignited within her. The figure shrieked as if her courage had burned its cold skin. "Such defiance will meet your end." It straightened, growing larger as though it thrived on their fear. "Claire, the diary." Jake shouted suddenly, his voice rising above the chaos. "It's the key. It has to be." Claire clutched the weathered book desperately. It was filled with whispers of the past, notes of family struggle, and secrets meant to stay buried. Could it protect them? Could it save David? "I don't know if it's enough," she yelled back, panic tinging her tone. "Try," Tom urged, feeling the pressure of time pressing down on them. The shadows seemed to pulse, hungry and feral, as if sensing an opening. With shaking hands, Claire opened the diary, flipping through the pages, her eyes scanning for some glimmer of hope. The brittle paper rustled like bones, secrets ready to escape into the air. "Listen. It talks about a binding ritual. It says we can lure it back." "Lure what back?" Maria asked, breathless with urgency. "The echoes of its past. We can bind it to the darkness from which it came." Claire's voice grew stronger with each word, panic shifting to determination. "Can we do it?" Jake questioned, his grip tightening around Claire, drawing strength from her resolve. "We have to trust each other." Claire replied resolutely, her heart racing against the offset horror. As she began to read aloud from the diary, the words resonated through the air, weighted with centuries of anguish and despair. The darkness swirled and reacted, as though the entity within it recognized a challenge. The shadows writhed, angry at the intrusion of light from the words Claire spoke. "Let the past harm you no more," Claire shouted, her voice mingling with the whispers of the diary. The air thickened, each syllable acting as a thread binding them, drawing power from the anger and anguish hidden deep within the house. Abruptly, the darkness surged, swirling violently, almost like a storm, but Tom refused to falter. "Keep going. Don't stop. Help me." They heard David again, his voice drowning beneath the chaos. Each cry fueled their search for the strength hidden within the unknown. Yet the figure loomed closer, its shadows weaving tighter around them. "You meddle in a game you cannot win." The shriek of the figure mixed with David's cries, a cacophony of fear and hopelessness. Time was running out, and just as they thought solace was within reach, the entity lunged forward, desperate and wild. Would they unravel the entity's dark grip, or succumb to it forever? They had to find out before it was too late. The air crackled with tension as Claire's voice rang out, each word a lifeline dragged through the storm swirling around them. "By the power of those who suffered, and by our will, we bind you." Shadows lashed out, trying to steal her words, twisting them into echoes of despair. "Faster!" Jake shouted, his eyes darting between Claire and the figure lunging ever closer, the rage of ages manifesting into a twisted form. David's voice, muffled and full of pain, broke through the chaos again. "Claire! Please! Stay with us, David! We're coming for you!" Maria screamed, heart pounding, emotions teetering between hope and terror. She ripped her gaze from the figure long enough to see Tom's determination. The glimmer of defiance shone in his eyes. "What else does it say?" Tom pressed, urgency threading through his words. Claire flipped through the pages. "It talks about shadows being drawn by the light of memories we just need to remember." "Remember?" Jake echoed, bewildered. "What does that even mean?" "We need to focus on the happy times. The times that matter." Claire's hands trembled, the reality closing in like a vice. The figure was now crouched dangerously low, claws scraping on the wooden floor, a predator ready to pounce. "Then think. Think of our greatest moments together," Maria cried, desperation in her voice as she clutched David's not-so-far-off memory of laughter shared on sunlit afternoons. The flicker of joy sparked between them, pooling like light against the suffocating darkness. "Remember the bonfire," Tom shouted. "When we all promised to do anything for each other." He gripped the diary, willing it to channel their shared happiness into the world around them. The shadows seemed to recoil for a moment, but the figure roared back, the walls vibrating with its fury. You think your joy can break me? I demand their suffering, their fear. No! Claire shouted, bolstered by the memories flooding forward. She felt the warmth of their bond, strengthened by friendship and laughter. You don't own us. David, hold on. Maria called, bracing every inch of her being against the oncoming dread. We're coming, just hold on. The air surged with emotion, buoyed by their memories. Claire continued, reciting lines from the diary with fervor. We banish you. Leave this child alone. They formed a small circle, backs pressed together, knowing they were all that stood between David and the consuming shadows. Her voice lifted higher, filled with the empowerment of joy and camaraderie. We call upon the echoes of light to disperse you. We remember, we love. The figure was stalling, shadowy limbs writhing in agony at the onslaught. It screeched, a sound that shook the very foundation of the house, splitting the walls with pure malice. You are fools. You cannot fight my darkness. Suddenly, a beam of light snaked through the shadows, illuminating their faces as the hidden memories sprang forth, radiating warmth. The figure stumbled back, the claws retracting slightly. No. Impossible. Don't stop. Keep focusing. Tom urged, longing to pull David from the brink. But just then, darkness engulfed their memories. With a jolt, Claire's voice faltered. The beam flickered, shadows creeping back like an old nightmare refusing to stay buried. If you lose focus, it all shatters. That dreadful truth struck deep. In that fleeting moment of weakness, they all felt it. The swirling shadows clawed back at the edges of sanity, promising despair if they dared let go. Claire, look! Jake yelled, pointing towards David, now trapped within a whirling vortex of dark energy. We have to save him. Now! As fear clashed against hope, Claire leaned closer, squeezing her eyes shut to remember one last joyful moment, one that could pry them all from the jaws of despair. Would it be enough to fend off the encroaching darkness? The battle was not just for David anymore, it was for their very souls. Would the memory's warmth break the hold of darkness, or would they be swallowed by the shadows forever? The shadows loomed larger, swirling around them, and Claire fought the suffocating grip of fear tightening in her chest. The very air tasted of impending doom, sharp and metallic. Doubt gnawed at her. What if their memories weren't enough? What if this moment spiraled into the abyss, taking them all with it? Claire David's voice resonated from the void, strained, mingled with despair. Help me! That plea dug into her heart like a knife. She couldn't let him vanish. The thought sent shards of panic coursing through her veins. We need something stronger. Tom shouted, desperation streaking his voice. Something more vivid. Eyes snapping open, Claire grasped the diary tighter. Then let us summon the strongest memories we have. The ones that made us feel alive. Okay. Maria said, her voice shaking but determined. What about that summer camp? When we all spent that night under the stars? Yes. Claire nodded, her pulse quickening with the thought. The laughter, the stories, the starlit sky, it was incredible. Fragments of that night rushed in, the crackling fire, their shared secrets, the laughter echoing against the cool night air. Remember how we promised to always look out for one another? That we'd face anything together? The darkness recoiled, shadows flickering as if struck. Claire could see the flicker of light igniting within their circle. It was hope, raw and powerful. More. Jake exclaimed, his voice a beacon through the storm. Think of every moment we fought together, every hurdle we overcame. In that forest, when we built the fort. Maria chimed in, the corners of her mouth twitching with a smile despite the dread. And when we all fell asleep to the sounds of the night, it felt like freedom. Claire felt the weight of the memories lift slightly, a flicker of strength ignited by hope. We were united. Nothing could tear us apart then. Let us wield that unity. The shadows trembled but shifted deeper, enraged yet vulnerable. What hope do you cling to, fools? Your happiness is fleeting. Maybe, but it's ours. Tom screamed, the intensity climbing in his voice. And nothing can take it away. The beam of their collective memory surged, brightening with each joyful recollection. And with a jolt, the air crackled anew, vibrant energy radiating around them. They could feel it, the warmth wrapping around them like a shield. Keep it going. Claire cried, feeling the weight of shadows pressing heavier. More memories. More love. The figure writhed, its terrifying visage twisted in anger and disbelief. Claws slashed wildly, but each swipe failed to pierce through the bond they were forging, the light pushing back steadily. Then it happened, a loud cry, breaking the cacophony. David! Maria shouted as the dark vortex tugged harder. The fear of losing him wrapped around her heart, squeezing tight. Stay with us. Remember the day we went to the beach? The sun on our faces. Building sandcastles. Claire recalled, eyes shining with tears of determination. Yes. The waves crashing. Maria's voice burst with urgency. The laughter, the joy, all of it. Just as the memory flourished, the shadows shrieked ferociously, the darkness shaking violently. A profound anger emanated from the figure, but underneath it, there was something else: fear. The flickering light threw harsh shadows on the walls, revealing moments best forgotten but vividly alive within their minds. But just as victory felt within reach, the figure roared, a terrible sound that rattled their bones. Enough! I will devour you whole. It lunged, claws outstretched, a desperate attempt to reclaim its hold. The warmth began to fade, the memories blurring like a mirage. Don't let go! Claire yelled, teetering on the edge of panic. The light pulsed, fading with every surge of the shadow. Time felt taut, stretching thin. Could they rally their strength and overcome this beast woven from their fears? Or would they crumble, letting darkness reclaim them for eternity? With one final push amid the chaos, Claire found herself asking the question that might change everything: what if the darkest memory held the key to our salvation? Would remembering darkness bring forth the strength they needed, or would it plunge them deeper into despair? As the shadows writhed, a new thought flickered like a dying ember within Claire's mind. What if the darkest memory could bind the darkness? What if we faced the very fear it thrived upon? The very air crackled with anxiety, and her heart raced. The worst moments, the pain we hide, could be our weapon. The group gathered closer, desperation swirling among them, breathing life into this fragile idea. It's scary, Jake murmured, his voice tense. But it could work. We need to remember what made us feel lost, what the darkness feeds on. Together, we can turn that pain into our strength. Claire said, rallying her friends with the fire building inside her heart. Maria nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. We have to be brave. If it wants our fear, then let us give it our past. As their determination surged, they closed their eyes, leaning heavily on the memories that burdened them the most, the hurt they had tucked away. Remember when we lost touch for those months? How empty we felt. Maria's voice broke through the despair swirling around them. Yes. Tom shouted, breathless. It felt like we shattered, all alone. A flash of darkness curled around them, hungry for the vulnerability exposed. Shadows recoiled, yet they pressed on, encapsulated by the memories. When you were bullied, Claire, I should have done more. Jake confessed, anguish lacing his voice. Yes. We felt too small to matter, too weak to change anything. Claire exclaimed, images flooding her. But that pain showed how much we cared. Think of it. There is power in feeling pain. In surviving it. Claire urged, her voice rising above the wails of the enraged shadows. They began to remember more: the loss, the mistakes, and despair steeped in dark corners of their past. David's voice echoed through the void, fragile yet steady. Guys, I'm still here. Please, don't forget me. We won forget. Maria countered, tears spilling down her cheeks. We'll hold you close. The shadows erupted, enraged and shrieking, as the memories unfolded vivid, collective, fierce. You want our suffering? Then take it. Tom yelled defiance, their strongest moments feeding into the tempest. Their bond, once broken, rose again like a phoenix, cloaked in truth and sharpened with resilience. The hulking entity began to unravel, its claws clawed at the air as if trying to escape its very nature. You dare? It hissed, but now it sounded weaker, the grip it held on their collective fear faltering against their unity. In darkness, we found light. Claire cried. We grew stronger through our pain, forged together and unyielding. As they elevated their voices in a rallying cry, the warmth swelled, engulfing them, a barrier of shared strength. Remember it all. Our failures and fears unite us. They shouted in unison, their memories becoming a shield against the tightening shadow. The entity bellowed, an unnatural rage swirling to a crescendo as David's spirit surged alongside them. Help me. I believe in you. Realization dawned, they could reach him. It's not just about what we've lost, it's also about what we've gained. Claire shouted, the spark igniting once more like a vivid flame, lighting the way forward. Bursting from their circle, they threw open the floodgates of their hearts, filling the air with warmth, pulling the memories close each moment lived, each tear shed until they formed a beacon of hope strong enough to light the darkest corners of the house. The figure screeched and began to crack, shattered fragments dancing like stars among the encroaching shadows. You cannot defeat me. Yes, we can. Maria screamed, determination pumping through her veins. Your darkness is nothing without our light. Together, they roared, drowning the shadows with a torrent of memories. With every shared experience, every fear faced, they released something powerful, a soul-binding force that had existed between them from the very beginning, love. In one fluid motion, the shadows shrieked in agony as Claire shouted, we bind you to your darkness. The house trembled in response, the air shifting with palpable energy, crackling like fireworks. Light exploded around them, pushing away the dark, clawing shadows. And then it happened. With one final scream of despair, the entity shattered completely, engulfed in cascading beams of light illuminating every nook and cranny. The moment hung, pure and vibrant, the winds quieting as silence filled the space. Then they stood on the threshold of the house, voices mingling with the rising dawn. David appeared, stepping free like a whisper. You did it. You brought me back. Relief washed over them like a cleansing rain, hearts soaring in triumph. As they embraced David, the bond they forged shined with undeniable brilliance. They had entered darkness, faced fears, and emerged into the light united and unbroken. The shadows that once plagued them faded into whispers of memory, far away and unreachable. Let us go home, Claire murmured, her heart swelling with relief. They walked out into the dawn, each carrying the strength of their shared experiences, their laughter mingling harmoniously with the promise of a new day. Now, as they glanced back, they understood, they had faced the true darkness, and together, they were the light, and while the doors of their past whispered of pain, they now held the weight of love, laughter, and unbreakable bonds, confirming unity would always conquer fear. If you enjoyed this heart-pounding conclusion, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on our next riveting stories that dive deep into uncharted realms of suspense and emotion. Smash the like button now to supercharge the algorithm for more content just like this. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about the twists and turns in this story. And for the true fans out there, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this jaw-dropping conclusion. Your support means everything.